are you able to discover yourself if you're not already wealthy? This is a question that I kept thinking about while reading Miranda July's All Fours, which follows a woman who leaves her family to go on a road trip to New York, but ends up holing up in a hotel room just outside the city where her husband and child still live, renovating it with $20,000 and beginning to contemplate potentially infidelity, opening up her marriage, as well as just re-examining her life in general. As well as July writes, and as interesting as some of the themes that she explores, it felt like reading a New York Times article about someone whose life was so completely beyond the relatable day-to-day of my own that I just found it really hard to relate to. And July isn't the only author that has done this. In Kaveh Akbar's Martyr, the protagonist is famously not wealthy at all, but in order for him to also go to New York and talk with an experimental artist and discover himself, he conveniently remembers that he has a bounty in his bank account that was paid out by the US government. And so this theme of having wealth in order to discover yourself and being able to break from your life and have that freedom seems to come over again and again in literature. The theme echoes in the very famous nonfiction book Eat, Pray, Love, where a woman is paid by her publisher, because he's an established writer, to go to Italy and just spend her time trying to discover herself. And it's even in the classics like Marcel Proust's À la recherche du temps perdu, where the narrator just lays in bed and contemplates his life. At this point, I find myself begging for any depiction of someone who has to wake up early and commute and go to their office, and they're worried they might be fired, and they're worried about making their rent payments, they're worried about supporting their family, their aging parents, they're worried about anything, and they don't have the time or the freedom to throw everything in the air and rediscover themselves. And I just find that those depictions are really lacking in literature. Even Elena Ferrante's Days of Abandonment, one of the best books that I've read this year, has a protagonist whose husband leaves her for a younger woman. She's left to take care of her kids, and she does have to find a job, but it's not as existential. She finds a job where she's able to translate a book, and she doesn't have to show in an office, and in fact, she delays the project. She doesn't have that same existential economic threat that I think haunts a lot of the people that are younger today. So please let me know if I'm completely alone on this, if you had similar thoughts while reading Miranda July's books or other books that follow this theme. And please, if you know of novels or even nonfiction that show someone who just has to go through their day-to-day but is still trying to improve their life and discover themselves and maybe going through a bit of an existential crisis, please let me know in the comments, because I think we really need more of that in fiction. I'm not sure that when successful authors write what they know and that life is a life of luxury and contemplation and not the stresses of having to put a roof over your head, that it's really relatable, and the explorations that they do, as interesting as they are to them, it is sort of like viewing anything from a very, very long distance away. As always, please let me know what you think, keep reading, and I will talk to you soon.